Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Quita and I am a certified medical coder with 3 certifications from the AAPC, a CPC, a COC, and a CRC. And I have been a certified medical coder for it's been 7 years now. Since 2017, I've been certified. First off, I've been gone for a while. I know you guys been looking for the videos. I apologize for them, y'all. I am an autism mom. It's just been really, really hard making the videos for you guys. But when I do drop a video, I try to make sure that it's something tangible, something that you can use. This video is being filmed just off the whim. It's stuff everywhere back there. I apologize for it, ignore it, but we're going to get through this video because I'm going to be showing you all my check stub from my very first coding job. Matter of fact, I'm going to be showing you 4 of my check stubs. I'm also going to be showing you what I was making per hour at that time. We're going to get into all of that. So I've told you all many stories about my first medical coding role. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I'm also going to try to include details that I've never included to give you all more insight. So I started my very first medical coding role in 2018. My very first coding role was absolutely remote. No prior experience as a coder. Never actively worked a job as a medical coder. Literally only had my certification, my CPC. At the time, no, I had a CPC and a COC, did not have a CRC at that time, and the role was for risk adjustment. So we were only utilizing the ICD-10 CM code set. They provided a corporate membership for all of the coders. So in some situations, some people would pay the AAPC for their membership, also pay for the book, and the company will reimburse you. Well, my situation with my first employer, we just were all in a corporate membership that they renewed for us every single year. They will also send us a book every year and also would even provide some tabs for us to tab our ICD-10 CM book. One thing about my first medical coding role is that they did not provide encoder at all. We had to rely on our books to flip through the book to find those codes. I just cannot see myself working for an employer who does not provide encoder. It's very, very more efficient. I'm not saying for your first medical coding role, if they don't provide encoder, to not take the job. I am not saying that. I'm saying now in my career, I realized that it has made me a faster coder. It has made me a better coder. Also being able to utilize the AHA coding clinic to be able to just utilize those things really, really fast. I just can't see myself working without it. So some of you may ask, what is encoder? Basically, you can look up those codes online. You don't have to flip through your book to look up any code, any symptom, any condition. You can go straight online. It is, in fact, faster, and it makes you a more efficient coder. There was no pre-employment test, which I loved. I did not have to take any type of, a coding assessment. Yes, you could run into having to take a coding test prior to even getting an interview for a job. So I had to adhere to 95% accuracy, 50 charts per day. I believe right before the time that I left, they had just raised it to I'm thinking 60. I can't remember. My company did in-home health assessments. They would go into the homes of the members and they would do a health assessment, ask them a series of questions, get the medications that they're taking, note the conditions. It was very standardized. I'm trying to put this in a way of, okay, you have medical coding where you code from freestanding notes. We also coded from freestanding notes as well, if the provider documented some extra information. But what I'm saying is the form looked the same for every member. So that's how it is in the IHA world. Starting out as a coder, I do believe that coding for a company that do IHAs is great for a new coder because it's a lot of repetition, and by it being in a way where you're using a lot of the same codes because they're asking, certain questions and stuff. So you're just going to get used to seeing certain codes, and you're just going to know those codes off the top of your head. I get the question all the time, do you have to memorize the codes? Absolutely not. The book is humongous. This is my old ICD-10 book actually right here. This is my old book, and you see how Sorry guys, I got a call. Okay, so I was showing you guys that this is my old ICD-10 CM book. And as you can see, it's huge. There's no way that you can sit and just memorize all of these codes like that. So what I'm saying is there are going to be some codes that you're just going to remember. You're just going to know diabetes type 2 is E11.9, hypertension is I10, hypertension with heart failure, unspecified, I110, I509. You're just going to just know because you use those codes so much. That's pretty much it. The hourly rate was not great, but they offered, I'm not going to say a bonus structure. I'm going to say incentives. So we did bonus once a year. It was like 5% of your salary or something like that. So when I did bonus, my bonus was about, I really can't remember because I did not pull the check stub up for that. But every time I did receive my bonus, like after all of the stuff come out, like the taxes, Social Security, and all of those things, it would be like over 2,000. I believe it was like 2,200. But that was just once a year, and we will always get that first quarter, I believe, of the year. So as far as the incentive goes, I cannot remember the incentive, but I know if you coded so many charts, you got this incentive. And if you hit this number, you get this incentive. It was spectacular. I feel that they really tried to help us out because they knew that the pay was low. So by them implementing that incentive plan that they had, it was wonderful. Now, I'm going to be showing you 4 check stubs. 2 of them are going to be on the low end, and then 1 of them is going to be on the high end. They did separate it. They would pay us like, our regular pay with the OT if we had OT. And then the next check would have like the incentive part. It'll be separate. So let's get right into it. Okay, you should be seeing a check stub on your screen right now. It shows that I grossed $1,788. And the net pay I brought home was $1,215.03. Now, keep in mind, you guys, of course, I had insurance and 401k. They matched at 6% and all of that. Taxes and all of that good stuff. So that was my check on the low end, like no incentive or anything. That pay is absolutely too low. It's too low, but that was the situation. Now, that is really, really low pay for me, but they made up for it with the incentive. Let me show you another one on the low end before we get off into the incentive check. I net $1,775.24, and then, I grossed that, and then net paid $1,260.40. So that's what that looked like on the low end. So now let's get off into the incentive check. So for this check, I grossed $3,434.10. I had 132 hours. Wow. So I had 52 hours of overtime. Yeah. And my net pay was $2,380. So now let's look into the incentive check. It's the same exact pay period. So I received this check and also the next check I'm about to mention right now. So for this one, my incentive was $3,500 plus $795. I cannot tell you what that is. I don't have a clue. But total, that was $4,295. And you see I brought home $2,592. And I remember this check, I was so ticked because $944 went to federal income. And I was like, what? $1,000 of my incentive was just gone. Yeah. So anyways, back to the topic. So when you add up those, so when you take the $4,295 plus the $3,434, so for that pay period alone, for that 2-week pay period, I grossed $7,729. No, I'm sorry, $7,729 for one pay period. That's with my regular 80 hours, the incentive plan, and overtime. So out of that $7,700 that I grossed, I only brought home $4,972. So basically, $5,000 out of that I brought home. So basically, rounded up a little bit, 5K. So basically, I brought home 5K net for that time. I brought in a pretty good amount for that entire month of April. So when you add up all three of those check stubs from that one month, I grossed, and I added it up, I grossed $9,517. That's before taxes, 401k, insurance, all of that good stuff. It's before all of that. And that brings back a memory. I remember one time I was actually applying for an apartment complex, to move to, get a new apartment somewhere when I was house hunting and stuff before I moved into the home we live in now. And I just remember the lady was like, "Where do you work?" She was like, "What do you do for a living?" And I had to give her the whole spiel. I do medical coding. So, this is not standard everywhere. There are some places that have bonus structures. There are some places that have that, but every place doesn't have that. I believe a role that I wanted once in the past, I think I interviewed for it. I didn't like the pay. They did not want to go above, I think they didn't want to go above $26 an hour, but they did say that they have a bonus plan. Maybe I should have looked into that a little more, to see what could you actually bonus, and I didn't. Once that pay, I wasn't happy with it, and I just moved along. Now, out of that 95, I think I said 9,500. I forgot the amount already. But out of that amount that I grossed, I only net $6,187. But keep in mind, I had to work a lot of OT as well. I had a lot of OT hours. The incentive number was good as well. But yeah, so we had the incentive plan for actually a good amount of time. I have since moved on from that company. I don't work there anymore. But yeah, at that company, we did in-home health assessments. That's where I got my start. That's where I acquired my skills. It actually has definitely aided me in the skills that I have today. Some of you know and some of you don't know. Right now, I am an auditor. I'm getting tongue twisted. I am an auditor now. I see things from the auditing side, and so far, I actually love being an auditor. No such thing as like coding a chart from scratch unless somebody, miss an encounter, then I would be coding from scratch. And also the work that I do now is very different from the work that I used to do in the past. Like I told you guys, I'm an IHA girl. I would say that. I said it to my boss sometimes, like I'm an IHA girl. That's my background. But now I code from SOAP notes, HPI, assessment in the plans, things like that. And it's very different from the world that I was in. And, one thing that I noticed of some people who came from that world and then went into the IHA world, they did not want to leave because they're like, oh, this is easy. Coding, IHA coding, well, it's not called IHA coding, but coding in-home health assessments, it's easy. It's very, very easy. I think that I did, the in-home health assessment kind of work for over 5 years. So I kind of feel like that kind of ran its course, I guess. And the kind of coding I do now, I feel like that my knowledge advanced. I feel more of a senior coder. I actually feel like a senior coder. Do I sometimes experience imposter syndrome? Oh, yeah. Sometimes I do, but I have to remind myself of my knowledge and how far that I've come. And even right to this day, there are times where I'm doing my coding, I'm like, girl, you're good. You're so good. I've gotten so much better. How much I was making an hour at the time. So it was $22 and some change. Not very much. And I feel like I only stayed for as long as I did. For one, it was my foot in the door. But for two, I feel like I stayed because of that incentive plan. It was beautiful at that time. But now, you guys, would I ever work for $22? Oh, no. You know what? I always like to try to give you guys some type of advice because I don't want to just talk about me. I want to try to do things that can help you guys as well. I want to tell you that just because I'm like in the senior tier now does not mean that I have not received job offers where I was like, okay, no, I'm not working for this. If you want to make more as a medical coder, you have to look for it. You have to search for it. That was one reason why I tried to like transition and go into tech, because I just got tired of the lowball offers. Feeling insulted. I have stories that I can, tell you guys. I've been thinking about it. Maybe I should, be more vocal about that. Find some time to speak about things that has happened where you told me I was going to be making this, and then down the line you change it and you say it's this and it's significantly less. Like, it's absolutely terrible. I see the positions now. They would post the pay and it would say $17 an hour, $21 an hour, 24. But there are some roles out there that are paying, and I see them and they post the pay, and those are the ones that you have to go after. If you're currently in a medical coding role and you're applying out and they have the pay posted, and you don't want to work for $23 an hour, you have no business applying for that role. Don't do it, because then you're just setting yourself back up into a situation of not liking the pay and possibly like becoming resentful. If you want to continue in this profession, look for better pay. Take the time and search for it. And if you are a coder and you've been coding for a while, look into the auditing side of things. I never wanted to be an auditor. I never wanted to be an auditor. When I would see a role and see that it said auditing, I would go right past it, because I felt imposter syndrome. I felt like I wasn't good enough to be an auditor. I felt like my skills needed to be developed more before I move into that space. So I kind of became an auditor on accident. My role that I work for now was posted as a risk adjustment coder, but the description said auditing, but it's posted as a risk adjustment coder role. I applied for it, and that's when I really learned, like in the interview, this is really on the auditing side, and I got the job, and I audit work, and I'm doing fantastic, and I actually like auditing better. I would say go for it. You never know what could happen, especially if you want to get your pay up. I see some of these roles, some of these places, they're paying you based off where you live, but you could possibly find a place that pay you based off where they live. But also know, if you're going to the auditing side, make sure that pay is right from the beginning. That's what I would do. That's the advice that I can give you all. But sometimes I post, if I find roles that are paying pretty well, I may share it to you. And if I find roles that don't require experience, you guys know I post that for you guys as well. I don't want to keep rambling, so I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, you guys.